Good evening. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Oh my goodness. Is it ever time for me to... Adam, you there?
Well, yeah. Oh, sorry. Wake me up when the finish line talk's over, okay?
We're jumping right to two Christmases. Everybody watched that Xfinity race, knew we were going to fight about it today. And they're like, yeah, here we go.
I said to Spencer before you even showed up, I said, look, I got this with my eyes closed. I'm going to have a quick power nap before it starts, give Clint a chance to back up all of his bullshit arguments, and then I'm just going to show one picture and walk away.
I brought some backup tonight by request.
Good.
Not because I needed his help for this argument to handle you, Adam Ross, as our guest would say. But I'm bringing him on because my buddy, Anthony Macri, not the Anthony Macri, but the Anthony Macri from Canada, called me up last week, gave me shit for being a bad friend, said I do watch your bullshit show on Tuesdays at least since you don't phone me back, and we need more of the Chaz. So I said, all right, Chaz is always in our feed, got tons of... we got a million things to talk to Chaz about. Down Under, Larson kicking their ass are upcoming, the state of NASCAR, High Limit versus World of Outlaws. Do we need a photo line finish on the dirt tracks like NAPCAR? These are all the questions we need to, and I'm only saying NAPCAR because I'm trying to make Chaz feel welcome. I'm not trying to, piss on our NASCAR friends because they do pay our bills too. So, we'll play a bit of Chaz.
You're gonna step on your willy all night long. You might as well start off the top. Right? This is gonna be a recurring theme. I'm glad we have someone with opinions, someone who can fight the good fight, because really, it's getting tough. I have a hard time. I might even let Decker lead that debate. Decker, you want to debate Clint on finish lines?
Nah, he don't even want to talk to me either. I realize the debate is getting as old as my gray beard. That'll be gone next week in time for racing season, but we'll let it go a little bit. What else we got to talk Chaz about? All kinds of stuff. So if you guys got anything you want to know, I want to thank whoever joined the chat last week and got me sick, because I don't know if you know, but during the show, I actually caught the flu during the program, and finally getting over it now. Let's bring him on now. Chaz, don't know where in the world he is. Could be anywhere. I'm assuming he's in North America back now, because he was trying to go to the high limit race in Peevely on the weekend, I think I saw from his feed. Chaz, how you doing, man? Welcome to the program. Now you're muted. Hold on.
He's muted. From parts unknown. Like, he's got to be mysterious. I think that's better if he's a mystery.
You got him on your Zoom there. There we go, Chaz. We got you now.
That's it. Yeah, we are actually. Well, no, we're back in the Des Moines area currently. We are in Des Moines, Iowa. We did go to I-55 though.
Would you buy a ticket?
Yeah, bought the ticket.
All right.
See,
to get into the track.
That's bullshit. Because the way he paused there, like someone fished him in, right, Chaz?
Well, here's the funny.
Go ahead.
Here's the funny thing. I'm not going to call you the Chaz. I'm just going with Chaz, just for simplicity. Fine. Chaz, we could make 2 phone calls, maybe 3, and have you sponsored for a whole year to get your way paid into any racetrack you want to go to, because you've got enough support for it. So that's kind of the funny thing about being denied media credentials. Who the hell cares? Like, a sponsor would come up and say, Chaz, here you go, man. Here's $1,000. Let me know when you've used that up going to different racetracks, and we'll pay to get into more. So it's kind of comical that way. And Clint, I mean no disrespect to people who run racetracks like yourself, but there aren't any media privileges anyhow, so who the hell cares?
Well, I mean, you're the lucky guy who has 3 people that can just do that all of a sudden. I do not. So if you do know those calls, call them for me. We're right here waiting. But the media credentials also at the same time, they kind of put a leash around you at the same time when you are approved for those media credentials. You kind of can or cannot do certain things. And if you make somebody upset, they have the right to remove you from the event, etc. To where if you buy your own way in, that's technically not the case. I am worried that, one of the craziest experiences I had recently in filming or doing anything at racetracks was NHRA in Florida. They gave me media credentials and everything. I was all excited. And I get there and they say, you can't film any racing action at all, period, at NHRA events and post it because the licensing that Fox Sports has on the actual racing action is that strict. So to protect their investment of broadcasting the NHRA, no media is allowed to film on track racing action except if you're a personal team like affiliate, but luckily dirt racing ain't to that extent yet.
Chaz, you bring up a good point. Adam and I, we're kind of mentoring some of these young up and coming media guys like we are, and right now they're trying to make that decision. Do I kind of play by the rules of the promoters and kind of toe the company line, so to speak, don't say nothing to piss nobody off, or do you just do it the other way where you pay your own way and say what you want, do what you want? Tougher road to hoe, maybe more enemies, but maybe more fans. What do you say to someone who's just getting into the business, eager with let's say the right intentions? Because I would hazard a guess to say that yourself, myself, and I know Adam have been grinded enough that sometimes we're not all peaches. But this is a kid who wants to help out, dying to figure it out, got a show like this. What do they do, man?
It's a really interesting thing. I had this, I guess, debate in a chat and in my videos now with Finley, one of Larson's sponsors, who all I did was make a post, on my personal Facebook page talking about the low crowd count at High Limit at RPM. And he said that was the justification basically as to why I don't get media credentials, just because I will make a post talking about low fan counts at a race event. Which is pretty ridiculous. So when you're this young person and you want to get into the sport, and you're thinking about, trying to come in there with some kind of, journalistic tendency, which is seeking of truth and reporting truths and figuring things out, it's really hard to do that when you have egos running the industry. Really, what's wrong with saying, or questioning why a fan count was low at an event, trying to figure it out? Who's offended by that? I guess the people who put the event on and they're sad about it, or they're the series that don't want to look bad, or a track that don't want to look bad, and really I didn't point towards any fingers of the track or even the series itself. I think it's a big issue in dirt racing that your biggest series, I guess you could call it, one of them, 1B, would be High Limit in the sprint car industry, can't pull 2,000-ish people 30 minutes away from a population of 7 million. That's a big issue in the sport. And we're trying to, and people have the audacity to think we could compete against NASCAR. I mean, they get that, for a meet and greet with one of their back markers in Xfinity, so I mean, it's really hard I think, because it's the system of Americana right now, in a Canyonana or whatever you want to call it, is the tracks, the series and everything are somewhat so privatized that when you come in there and try to have some kind of merit to what you're doing, you're under the control of a monarch or a dictator who has the money and is paid for everything and wants to. You're basically dealing with a very successful businessman, a boss who's been a boss their whole life. And they're used to having people say, yes, sir, no, sir, and don't ever speak out of line to what they're trying to do. And if you potentially find something you don't like, or you see some BS, last time I was on here, obviously, was the Kyle Busch situation with the whole Brexton deal, that's an extreme example, but there's so many soft little egos in this racing world that destroys the merit of it. It's pretty hard to go into it and want to work under the system of media credentials, because credentials, once again, come with a little bit of a leash. I think people are more, or groups or tracks are more open to giving new people media credentials. It's personalized opinions on if somebody gets approved or not. It's not really performance. It seems like it's who they like and who they don't. So a new guy could get in But once that new guy comes in there and says something that the big boys don't like or doesn't follow in line, like you were saying, they basically get put into a blacklisted situation. And that seems to be the cause. So it depends on what you want. Do you want to, try to make a living in racing and do whatever it takes just to, not work a, typical 9-to-5 job or you just do it for fun and you ain't trying to have no problems, or do you really want to come in and make differences and changes and see what things for what they actually are? If you want to do that, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble.
Unfortunately, the people who own the sandboxes get to decide who represents media and who doesn't. That doesn't mean they decide who is media. That means they decide who they'll let in on credential. Because I'll tell you, I grew up, I'm an old man. I'm pushing 50 years old, but I grew up reading, Clint, help me out here, Bones Boursier, who were some of the other really good writers in like Stock Car Magazine, Dr. Dick Berggren, people who could write. You read one of their stories, it's like, man, oh man, I lived it. I felt that.
Yeah.
90% of the writers out there are shit. No offense.
That's
they're
just
not
they're
writers.
kissing dick. Sorry,
that's
wrong word to say.
No, you can say that on the show.
Metaphorically, and I wish them no ill will. It's just been so watered down because it used to be there weren't that many publications. So you had to be pretty good to do writing. Well, then they needed content, and then the internet came about and everybody is a writer. Then they invented blogging, which means I can write stories and not be any good, use zero punctuation. I don't even have to spell shit right. But that's the challenge. And I'm going to back this up. I don't mean to offend 90% of the people that are writing about racing. Go back and pick up an old Open Wheel magazine. Go back and pick up an old Stock Car magazine. Read an article by Bones Boursier. In fact, read 5 articles. It'll change your life. It'll change the way you look at how people should construct a story when you see how it's actually supposed to be done. We are in a day when it used to be called journalism. There are no journalists left. Not in this sport. There might be a couple in North America, but no more than that. It's a bunch of people who have different platforms, ourselves included. We have a platform here where we have a decent size audience. Well, so what? That's something that we built on our passion, Chaz. Same with you. You built your audience on a certain delivery style, on doing things a certain way. Are we legitimate journalists? I don't think so myself, because I have favorites on this show. When I go and announce for somebody, I got to call it pretty much down the middle. When we have this, I can have opinions. Now I'm opinionated, which takes away any journalistic credibility. I'm okay with that because Clint and I, this is what we built. But that's the problem. You've got all these people playing different roles, and a media credential doesn't make you a journalist. Getting in and being part of the herd is just that. And that's not you. Like, I don't think you want to be a part of that herd.
Right. I've always kind of labeled what I do somewhat of a comedy-based commentator, or just, and you see a lot of people, they do that in other sectors of entertainment. You look at the Monday morning quarterback, response guys, the, Stephen A. Smiths or Pat McAfee's or any of those guys. Those aren't, are they journalists? Kind of, but they're definitely not when they're on that TV screen, so that's pretty much what we emulate here, I think, in these opinionated kind of shows of an hour or 2 hours. I would put somebody like Dirt Tracker, who's probably the most successful right now as far as numbers are concerned. He's more so a reporter. He would be like your Scott Van Pelt style that would just run down what's happened and how it happened and bye, see you later. It's not really opinionated. It's not Pat McAfee, so, yeah. And now we're in the world of podcasts where, I did talk shows before podcast was a word. So it's kind of weird to see that evolution as well.
We've been around that long. Let's talk racing for some of our viewers here. Just throw it out there, Chaz. Larson and the Indy. I saw your comment this past week after his test. Great test for Larson. We all know he's got talent. I think your post said it's been a long time since, I'm paraphrasing now, maybe you give me the real version of it, but something along the lines of it's been a long time since we had real open wheel talent with those kind of balls and that kind of control. That this guy ought to lay a whooping on them at Indy. Give us your thoughts on Larson going that way.
Well, my post was more so around the fact that the talent of America, the whatever talent pool you want to call it, the best drivers haven't ever aspired recently that I can think of, especially in the circle divisions, have aspired to go to IndyCar racing. Ever since Cole and Rowdy took over, and the path has been to NASCAR to be a superstar in motorsports. That's where all the talent has went towards. And if they don't make it there, then they fall back to something that they did on the way up, like a Clausen who went back. He kind of did both, but anybody who doesn't succeed, it seems like in the asphalt, trajectory goes back to the dirt racing or whatever they were accustomed to. So my point there is you haven't really had any top level American, I would say, based talents, especially from World Winged Sprint Car Racing, World of Outlaws, High Limit, whatever you want to call it. You haven't really had those guys pursue IndyCar racing like a Tony Stewart did or something, or an AJ Foyt did or something, or Andretti's or Unsers, that the path changed to where the talent of America just hasn't been going that direction. And if you put a guy like Larson, who's one of the best in anything, who is dominant from that form of motorsports, which I still think sprint car, I would say late model racing is probably the hardest competitive form of motorsports. I hate to say it because I'm a sprint car fan. I think sprint car slots into 2 maybe, but when you take guys from that division of motorsports and you give them a legitimate chance in any of those things, especially a Kyle Larson, I mean, look out. I mean, the talent level that a Larson has, I think, is a couple steps above what most of those IndyCar guys have. Personally, that's what I think. Now, I know there's some guys in there who are good and stuff like that. I'm not saying they can't throw the football, but Tim Tebow could throw the football too. He just wasn't as good as Tom Brady.
A lot of that, Chaz, obviously is how they're raised, where they come from, because most people that are running Indy came out of go-karting on road courses. They didn't come out of go-karting on ovals or micro sprints. It's just the path on how they get to where they get. So it's almost unique that the path that they took to get to the top has nothing to do with the flagship race, the pinnacle of the sport. Has nothing to do with what they were born and raised on.
It seems like a lot of those guys feel like they failed in their F1 pursuit, and they end up going back to IndyCar listening to some of their stories.
And that's fine. That's because your trajectory changes. Formula One is the top of the world. So if you're running these kart races for that style, if you're growing up in karting and you want to make it to the top, F1 is probably where your heart is. Well, guess what? If you get to F2 and you don't make it to Formula One, you're still better than a lot of people racing here in North America. So come back and do it. Like, I actually think that's a compliment to the sport. I think they add to that part of the sport. And I love that about NASCAR right now is you do have people. Shane Van Gisbergen. I love that there's people coming from different types of sports because I'll tell you run those touring cars. That is no bullshit racing. That is elbows up, drive it hard. Someone pulls a slide job on him, he's going to, yeehaw, bring this on. I got to learn that trick. I love that. I love the diversity that it brings. But to your point, Kyle Larson has better experience to prepare him for the Indy 500 than most of his rookie counterparts would have.
Well, and I just think that talent pool that IndyCar has received over the last 30 years, we'll say, since the Jeff Gordon transition and then the Stewart and the Casey, like all the short track talent of America has not pursued an IndyCar career. So you got a big amount of talent out there in competition that's went another route, So I just think that when you got a guy who's went through the gauntlets of wing sprint car racing, NASCAR, all the gauntlets that Kyle Larson's went through, I think going down to, or I can't believe I just said it, but I think going to IndyCar is kind of a step down personally. I mean, I don't think this event's a step down. I don't think those cars are a step down. I think IndyCar vehicles are amazing. I'm talking about as far as competition within the field in oval motorsports. I think that IndyCar is a step down from Cup. I think it's a step down from sprint car racing. I just don't oval wise. Now, obviously, you get them on a road course, and they're going to have their boys, you know. So
fair enough. Let me throw in a different perspective. So I've announced for NASCAR Canada since 2007 when it started. Back then, we would race in Edmonton on the airport circuit along with Indy cars. And back then, Danica Patrick was racing Indy cars, and she had an ex-boyfriend who raced with us, and I had worked with Danica when she was really young. She came over into our paddock the one day, and huge crowds following her. But we had a conversation, and it was all about business and how she couldn't wait to get out of IndyCar racing because she couldn't make any money. She had to get to NASCAR because that's where the money was. So there's also a storyline that has nothing to do with the level of competition or making it to the top. It has to do with where can you make the most amount of millions of dollars the fastest. And NASCAR, for her at that time, she knew she had to get to NASCAR to make the kind of money she needed to make before her time had expired. It was fascinating to me to hear her explain that when she was doing okay in IndyCar. She had GoDaddy behind her. Obviously, she was making a living. But there's someone who went over and raced in Europe. She's been all over the world and done different things and got opportunities based on her understanding of how marketable she was. But it's not always about chasing the best competition. It's also the mighty dollar.
Right. Well, and that's why Larson wasn't there. That's why a lot of guys aren't there. I do think that mighty dollar is changing, though. I do think, you know, you had like Matt Kenseth and a few other guys allude to that in the recent years, how they're not making money like they used to. And, you know, a lot of these veterans ain't getting pushed out of NASCAR because they can't drive or win. It's more so because some little kiddie will come in there and race for $500,000 a year just to be a superstar in the NASCAR Cup Series and look cool. You know, it's not that he can perform better or anything like that. It's just they're not really making that money anymore, I don't think, over there in the Cup world. I think that's when you hear like dirt racers making $2 million and some of these other leagues trying to make moves. You could potentially have a situation here in the near future where going to other things besides Cup racing is going to be a more financially viable situation to go down. You know, I joke with these kids who have the money all the time. You know, it's going to take you $15 or $20 million investing into, you know, K&N West or whatever it is now, ARCA East West, whatever, and then truck rides and Xfinity rides. You're going to put $15 million into renting cars from the age of 5 to 20, and then you'll finally start making $500,000 at 21. That's really not a great investment, I don't think. So where you could take that same amount of money, buy a big sprint car team or late model team, and if you got the talent, you can make money on your own and have equity in the equipment that you have as well. So, I mean, when you talk about the business, I get what you're saying with Danica Patrick, but I think in today's world, it makes more business sense to invest into a dirt racing operation for money. But you have to be able to beat them. And I think that's the hard part. That's why people kind of, when they do have the money, stray away from a dirt racing career because the competition level is just that much higher. It's hard to beat those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Clint, can I jump in again? You haven't talked since like 7 o'clock, but
I know. I was like, what's going on here? Am I talking too much? I'm not sure.
No, you're good, man. That is exactly why I would hire Team Ez to drive my car, because I'm going to back my investment better by selling t-shirts than I am by winning on the racetrack. And that's where the world has changed. Social media, merchandise, things like that. Give me Team Ez, put him in a car. I want the shirt sales. Whatever he does on the racetrack is going to be gravy, because those t-shirts are going to pay our way across the country.
Oh, and then you got it. Well, you'll have a more so issue, I think, in debating on who gets the shirt sale money and who gets this and that with Team Ez. But I'm not a hater of Team Ez. I've just heard some things. So.
Hey, everybody wants it. It's like the college kids right now, right? NIL, name, image, and likeness. Who gets the money for what I'm doing? Speaking of Team Ez, let's just close that door on last week while Chaz is here. Throw up those two golf cart pictures I just sent you, Spencer. So Robbie Longboat is our resident camp guy at Oshwegan Speedway, and he's the one who hooked us up with Team Ez, and Team Ez kept calling him Johnny Longboat. So the guys at the racetrack got stickers made up for Robbie's golf cart. So now he's officially Johnny Longboat and will no longer be known as Robbie or Campground Robbie. So there you go, Johnny Longboat. In fact, Johnny, if you're out there, you better call me. Ricky needs help at the Speedway hanging banners this week, so got some hours for you, bro. Chaz, let's talk other business now. I promote Osh Weekend Speedway in a market where we're really trying to help the market flourish, I guess you could say. I wouldn't say our sprint car market or the Ontario racing market is on the ropes by any stretch. If anything, it's rebounding very well after the COVID situation. But even before that, we've always used the formula here, and I've heard you talk shit about it in different ways, that we hire, for example, a Kyle Larson or a Tony Stewart to come in and race with our guys. And we're paying good money for that, right? But our attitude, I think, is a bit different up here because we have a lot of casual fans in a big market like Toronto, which is just an hour away. And they may have heard of a Ricky Stenhouse Jr., but not realize that we got Dylan Westbrook, one of the badass 360 guys in our backyard who grew up right here. And our sprint market is one of the healthiest ones in the world, alongside down under Indiana and like Pennsylvania, California. Ontario's a hotbed. If you look at the number of races we've had in dirt wing sprint cars in the past year, we're right up there. So are we wrong for going out and trying to use these big name guys to draw in? Because my attitude is,
y'all got an issue on getting a series up there, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I was going after SRX too. They were going to come before it all went down. I was dealing with Hawk and everybody asked me, why would we ever invest in something like that? Well, it's because if we can get a Ron Capps drag racer where the drag strip was there for 50 years down the road and get drag racing people to the track to realize, holy shit, this place is awesome. I didn't even know it was here, because I firmly believe if you're any kind of gearhead, vintage bike, vintage cars, a welder, machinist, you come out and watch sprint cars, you're freaking impressed. So if we can get them out there to realize it, so are we wrong by baiting them in with big stars and trying to hook them into our local guys?
Well, I mean, no. I mean, y'all are in a completely different situation. I think y'all can't get series up there. I know that the World of Outlaws basically stopped going up there because I guess DWI is on pit crew members or something. I'm not sure, but taxes or whatever.
There's a few reasons. That's
T-shirt
legit.
sales,
Yep.
They couldn't get their T-shirts across, which is like a big kick in the wallet for some of the teams also. But DUI is probably the biggest problem. The way I've equated it, Chaz, and maybe as an American you can explain this, I've told our viewership here, most Americans don't need a passport to go anywhere in the world. They go to Mexico, they go to Hawaii, they go wherever they want pretty much. We're the only country that asks you to get this special document to cross into our border, right?
Right. And it hurts. That's y'all are having to, I call it gimmick, but y'all are having to do that gimmick because it's the only option you have.
Yeah.
You got to put people in the stands. Bottom line,
right.
You can like
but you
it.
don't have the options
to
sign an outlaw race. You don't have the options to bring a high limit show in. You don't have the options that the typical American track has. Other avenues.
Now we've thrown money at it. Glenn Stiers is our owner. We've got the money. We've said, how much will it take? I can show you texts with me and Brad Sweet going all winter long saying, how much? Well, it's going to take a bit more to get the boys to come. How much? They could probably double their cost and we'd pay it. And I get why they don't want to do it this year, because they're in a battle for drivers. Right. If you say, High Limit says we're going to Canada, and then the guys with DUIs are just going to race the Outlaws or whatever the problem is. And so right now I get why neither series wanted to venture across. If we've ever got a hope for our viewership, maybe you're not familiar with this, Doug Leonard's a race director, come right out of Osh Weekend. We kind of have a fox in the hen house now in the business side of things that I'm hoping is going to help sell Canada back to the Outlaws. But, it's a tough deal for us.
Well, I know they used to go up there a lot, and, it's hard to be, I think that's why a lot of people have got High Limit or World of Outlaw events, is because you kind of have to have one of those staple events to really be a sprint car track. You kind of have to have a big show at least once a year where all the big names of the sport come in, and it's like this thing that kind of spurs off everything else that you got going on. And now you either drag along with the leftovers from that event the rest of the year, or some tune in, some tune out. I mean, that it's a very unfortunate situation. It sucks that y'all ain't on the other side or closer to the equator. You could do some, off the schedule, events, I'm sure, but you are really, really far up there as well. I mean, you're not far from PA, so there's a lot of PA drivers that would make the trip. But as far as everyone else, you are so distanced, from the Iowa crowds, the Houston crowds, the anyone else, Indiana. It's a pretty hell of a run up there. Heck, I was gonna try to do it, last year for some modified races. It seems like the modifieds have a simple issue. How do the modifieds pull it off so well or so easily to bring? I think the short track Super Series does a swing. Don't Super Dirt do a swing?
Yeah. Yep. Tradition.
I'll just jump in there quickly. Yeah, tradition has a thing to do with it, but they've traditionally, as Adam said, they've traditionally known that Canada's been part of the schedule for 50 years. So if you're gonna race that kind of car, you just better be ready to go to Canada.
Okay, but the legal issues and everything else I'm talking about.
They're all this. Well, Vic Coffey, I think, allegedly, I think Vic Coffey had issues, so he would have run the whole series. Could never finish in the points because he couldn't run the Canadian shows. That's what I believe was the case, unless I'm mistaken. But
Baloo made it in with
really
no issues.
dislike Canada, right?
All right, I'm going to initiate our last. Adam, when you're talking Canadian, you don't say right. That's an American you say. You say a.
Listen, mind your manners.
What are you talking about?
We got that. Okay, we got one last thing for you, Chaz. Adam and I have an ongoing thing here, and all our disciples / children get all excited when we fight. And this is the topic that's brought the most potential for 2 Christmases between Adam and I and the kids this year, and it's been the finish line debate. I'll set it up. Adam, you can take it away. So Adam's feeling is that we need a photo finish in dirt racing. As an administrator of a track with 3 different types of race cars and 3 different wheelbases, it's never going to line up perfectly, and we're going to have either the transponder's going to say something that the photo finish doesn't, and I'm going to be in shit over a $20,000 win here, where one guy with the transponder win's going to say this and the guy with the photo win. I'm saying we're sticking with the transponders. Spencer, if you're alive, roll the finish from Saturday's Xfinity race. And right away, I said, oh, for fuck's sakes, here we go again. And it was a photo finish. Roll it, Spencer, if you got it.
Last time. White flag is out. 1 lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank. Ryan Sieg is leading Sam Mayer.
And what a run for Ryan Sieg. I mean, epic race for a customer. We almost had Sieg today also, but we're going to work on him for next week.
Final lap. Mayer going to make the pass. Can Sieg get back by him? Here they are off of turn 4. Sieg and Mayer going at it at Texas. Back to the start-finish line. This one is going to be tight. Who got it done? Photo finish. What a thriller. Mayer and Sieg.
So stop that right there, Spencer. Stop that right there.
Don't they give a slow-mo replay or no?
Yeah, they do.
Adam's trying to build suspense.
No, this is what a dirt race looks like. Oh, it was so close. Who won? I have no idea. What does the computer screen say? Bullshit. Show them who won. The winner. We live in a visual world. On a football field, There is a goal line. We watch the ball go across the line. There is a home plate in baseball. You got to touch it to get home before someone touches you with the ball. And with car racing, we can illustrate what 2 1,000ths of a second looks like because we have a freaking line. There's the transponder line. They just crossed it. As their noses get to the white line, Spencer, can you somehow illustrate right underneath the Texas before the start-finish line? That is the transponder loop. It is 2 little black lines across the racetrack that go all the way from the inside to the outside. They're there right now. If the race ended right there, not sure who would win. But remember, the transponders are about 14 inches back, I believe, in those cars. So they've got to roll all the way to the line. So once they get to that visual line, their transponders are lined up. And this is what you see in newspapers across the country, on websites across the country. This gives excitement. They don't show a goddamn computer screen that shows a 0.002 thousandths of a second. They show this visual. And look at that. Those sponsors, Carolina Carports, SciAps, whatever the hell that is, they're getting the publicity they deserve because there's a freaking finish line. Without it, you've got nothing. Alvers, don't go there. I'm right.
I think that if you're gonna do something like that, and I'm with you, I don't like, because you got transponders in the States that are not lined up with the start finish line to begin with. I mean, High Limit is at this red dirt raceway, and the transponder line is like 10 feet before the checkered flag. It's like, why even have the checkered flag there? So you got bigger issues as far as alignment with the line and the, flagman than, anything else. But I do think, I'm assuming in that race, the rest of the field was counted based on who crossed based on that transponder line. I'm sure they didn't go there and photo finish every car that passed. So, I mean, I'm for dirt racing, even local, even if your, transponder's not lined up or whatever, saying, last lap for the win. If it's a side-by-side situation, you go to a camera that's at the line. I'm not against that at all. That makes sense. That's how it was supposed to be. If we want to throw tradition on the line too, it was always supposed to be that way before the transponder lines. Is that the start and the end of the race is where that flag stands at, so.
Chaz, you're useless to me. Get him out of here. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. You just want an easy job. You just want to load up and go home early.
Yes. It's lazy, and he admitted it the last time we fought. Oh, that's going to make my life harder. Big freaking deal. We honor the real winner, not the easy winner. And I'm sorry about that. I don't want to make your job harder. I want you to do it right. I'm expected to get it right. Right? Like when we talk into a microphone.
When has anybody given a shit what you had to say on the microphone?
I've never called Mikey Kretschka Clint Kretschka when he crosses the line. I got to know the difference between Mike Bowman and Holly Porter and Glenn Stires. Accuracy matters.
But let's not blur the lines here. I'll get back to your arguments. First off, at the short tracks, very few have a big screen and the talent and the equipment to show a photo finish anyways.
That's the hard part.
Your fans' most visual thing, and this is my argument, Chaz, is we see a super close finish to the line. We look up on that board, and instantly we can tell. So, yeah, I didn't get to see it right down in front, but just with a little crook of my neck, I instantly have those results, and it's just exciting as it's been for me for 20 years. Now, if all the cars were identical at the track, we could easily set it up, and it would be a non-issue. But the problem is we got sprint cars with transponders at the front, stock cars with transponders at the back. There's no way you can accurately move that finish line during the night to make it precise enough. And Chaz, here's where I get in trouble. And this is where it's not that I'm trying to load up and go home or take an easy one. The concern is when you got $20,000 on the line, you need an A or B plan that's very clear and concise. Transponders are clear and concise as it can be. And what I've said for a long time is we just got rid of jokers and shitty scoring people in this business and took a lot of controversy, as the Britons will say, out of the sport by putting it to a computerized system. And now you're asking me on the biggest paying night of the year to go to a photo that I'm going to let Billy Bob review and make the choice who's the winner on something that's as close as that? It just scares me. And hey, I love the photo finish. Hey, I was on my feet on Saturday loving the finish. I mean, NASCAR, as much as we bust their balls, as dirt guys, that's exciting as all hell. You can't beat that coming to the line. I would love to replicate it. I just don't think we're quite there yet. We'll keep trying for you, though, Adam. Happier?
If you have the capabilities to recreate what they have there, then do it. But I just don't think you can say that to the entire sport at all. I mean, you got a lot of big national late model races and sprint car. Like I've seen this with late model races for sure. You know, Brandon Shepard and Ricky Thornton Jr. at Davenport a few years ago comes to mind where visually it was Ricky Thornton Jr., but the line was 10 feet prior and they went with what the line said. You know, so the national representation is doing it that way. So it's hard to get off of what they're doing, you know.
99 times out of 100, more than that, it's a non-issue. But it's that one time. Those are the finishes you talk about. And I wish we had good photos. The most disappointing night I ever called, Clinton, was at Humberstone. We had 2 winners in Victory Lane. Dead heat. What a crock of shit that was. Even the guys in Victory Lane, like, this is bullshit.
Oh my God, I can't believe you have this on the go, Spencer, you bastard. So they called that a dead heat, but then, like...
They called that a dead heat. how many? I thought weed was legal in Canada. This is proving it.
Well,
Dead heat.
Line. Well, the line is back probably it's not at the finish line like you said. It's probably back between this smaller gap and the fence.
Well, and
If
see,
you
you
back it
have
up
to
a bit,
have a
Spencer,
dedicated camera on the damn flag stand. You can't work on these automated replays from
dead heat
filming.
there, you know. Yeah.
It's a special camera, Chaz. If you go on Google and do some research, it's actually really neat technology. It takes a picture of a point in time, but when you take like 1,000 pictures on top of each other, because it's super rapid, you get the shape of whether it's a horse or a car or a person running. It's pretty cool technology they use. What do they call it? A slit camera? But yeah, you couldn't use it for replays. God, Spencer, I love you.
What the hell?
It takes slices of time.
Obviously,
it's a coup.
Everybody's against Clinton on this.
Because he's wrong.
You pricks did your homework tonight. All right. Chaz, we got a few other things we're going to get through on the Ontario scene here. We appreciate you stopping by, man. Great chatting with you. Where are you next?
One more.
Where can our viewers catch your stuff? No, he didn't defend me. He's got to go. No, all right.
Chaz, how bad was the jet lag coming back from Australia?
Oh, I'm still kind of feeling it. I mean, not as bad as I felt drinking late with, Anthony Macri and McCready and them that one time in Florida, but I'm feeling it pretty good. I did split it up. It was actually cheaper to come back going to Hawaii and then coming here. So I split a day or two in there. So it kind of helped it a little bit, but the flight over there was just horrible. The going there was the worst thing in the world for me, but coming back wasn't horrible. I got back to where I had to kind of force myself to stay up through the day. And so I got to go to sleep at a normal time for Americans.
Yeah.
So it kind of got, changed over quicker than usual, I think. But yeah, going over there is very interesting. It's pretty interesting how they have their governmental body that really does a lot that we don't have. Even me and Shots were talking about that, how he thinks what they got over there is pretty good because there's certain regulations and things tracks have to do, and you can't just kind of dictate as much as we talk about over here in their racing scene because of that Speedway Australia government system they got over there. But the jet lag wasn't too bad at all coming back. Going there was the worst part, I thought, personally.
All right. No kidding. Well, welcome back. We're glad to have you.
If you want to hang around, this is our section we call the Burger Barn Video of the Week. We want to thank Jay, who just signed up again today. I had my meeting with Jason Hill this morning to come back to present the Burger Barn Video of the Week for another year. Jay wanted me to let you know. Now, me and Dave Hunsinger went to lunch at Burger Barn on Thursday, and it was pretty busy. But on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, great time to get Burger Barn lunch. Slide right in, right out. I actually saw Doug Leonard there today. He was coming out.
Is it open again, Clint?
Oh, yeah, booming for breakfast.
Because the dining room wasn't open for a while. You could only order takeout. No. So, folks, just so you know, they're opened up for business.
And Petro Plus, right next door. Travel Stop is the official fuel supplier of us and G-Force TV and our mobile unit all summer long. So thanks, Jay, for helping us out with that again. Chaz, this is where Adam and I and Spencer send in videos from around the world, racing related, motorsports related, whatever we think we might want to shoot the shit about and have some fun. So roll it, Spencer. Here's your Burger Barn videos of the week.
This was the scene last night at 1 a.m. for Michael Waltrip's car number 30 in a nameless motel. You've heard of the old days when they used to build the engines back in the bathtub? Well, this was the scene last night at 1 o'clock. Certainly don't want to name the motel, or the Waltrip crew will never be allowed back, Sean. Putting their engine back together. They had a few problems. They just took it home with them, rolled it right into the room.
Okay, hold there, Spencer. That's awesome, right? That's old school. That's what we all grew up wanting to be. Putting motors together in hotel rooms in the middle of the night. Chaz, any thoughts on that one? Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of modern day super late model drivers or something. That's what the dirt outlaw guys, that's what they kind of do, is that old school NASCAR mentality. I say, dirt today is NASCAR in the 90s, and that about, is what you see in today's dirt world, So, but yeah, that was cool to see the throwback for sure.
Roll it, Spencer. What we got next? Oh, drone racing. So this is human jetpack racing.
No.
This is not AI. This is really happening in a Formula One race somewhere. Now, we have a wicked drone pilot with our team, but I challenge Abby to a jetpack race.
I think one of them's leaking fluid.
Yeah, probably.
I better hope they're not.
Leg.
I just feel like too many things can go bad in this scenario.
Yeah.
Right? I want to see the.
It would be in Australia.
You don't say. Well, we got.
They're probably drunk on that Australian beer.
Oh, watch this save.
Ooh.
Wow.
Just kept it off the wall. That's our Burger Barn Videos Week. Thanks, Jay Hill. Don't forget, some of the best food, #1 breakfast, #1 burgers, anywhere near, and it's almost Weekend season, so if you're coming out to see us, get over and see Jay. Spencer, I sent you those go-kart pics. You know, we talked about terrorizing the neighborhood with the last couple years, and Dad came and said, "You're going to show those go-kart pics?" This is me and Mikey and Dad. This is what I terrorized my neighbors with, like the videos we looked. That's Mikey, our sprint car guy, before he was old enough to wear a bucket, and me in the tie cat shirt, and Dad fixing up the old Briggs and Stratton on the bed frame go-kart that we terrorized neighbors. This is the other picture. That's a push cart with Mikey in it, and I'm kneeling beside it. Behind it is Jason McGarry. You know Big Ron? That's Big Ron's brother. And It had to be 17. And you know why it had to be 17? Because Randy Hollingshead was 77, and my dad was 21, and we couldn't agree on a number, so, Randy was their uncle. So that's cool, Spencer. Just some old laughs from the past that we pulled it up. Chaz, we'll let you go, man. Thanks so much for being here. We'll talk some other Ontario business here, but it's always great having you. Wish you the best. In closing, where can our viewers find your stuff?
We're actually going to be live here after the High Limit show talking with Dwayne Keith on YouTube. It's the Chaz, just straight up the Chaz on YouTube. Talk about the whole Dale McDowell tire infraction situation that happened this last weekend. Obviously, Facebook, you can find me on Long Live the Chaz. There is still the Chaz page, but that's a whole nother scenario. Don't have access to that one. But it is Long Live the Chaz on YouTube, and then TikTok as well, Long Live the Chaz, Instagram, Long Live the Chaz. I know some people are thinking I'm going to be on the road soon, but when we did get back from Australia, unfortunately, looks like the old car that had 440,000 miles had a transmission go south. So we'll be hanging around the Knoxville Raceway area doing stuff from here in the studio on the YouTube channel until we figure that whole situation out.
Chaz, start a GoFundMe, man.
I'm not degrading myself to that point.
Wow, you know what? Listen, I'll be one of the first people to go on there and say $50. Like, do you know how many people would support because you're worth it? We choose to go and sell to advertisers and friends of our racing community.
Right.
But for God's sake, you got to understand what your market is. Your market is the people who want to hear your opinion. It's not going to be corporate dollars.
Right.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I would have no qualms in logging on, investing some money to say, go do your thing, because I appreciate what you do. And I think there's enough of us who do, that's going to be a hell of a lot easier than trying to sell McDonald's on $1,000 package, because I don't think you fit that bill.
Right. Well, there are links in the description of all of my videos to PayPals and Venmos. I mean, obviously anything that comes in right now is going to be going towards that situation. So I don't know about the GoFundMe, but I hear what you're saying. So.
Oh, Clint's quiet. Why is
he tried to get rid of me and God shut him up?
I'm here. Now my dog starts barking and I'm coughing, so I muted it. If anybody's trying to get a hold of Chaz, look him up and hey, you want to get him the next race, Adam, you can send him an email. I'm sure he takes it, right? Thanks, Chaz, for stopping by, man. We appreciate it. Stay safe wherever you are, man, and we'll cross paths. If you see him at a racetrack, let him know you saw him. Thanks, Chaz.
Let me know when that sprint car ride's open up there so I can come up there and get some people in, put a concert on.
All right, man. Thanks, Chaz.
All right, we'll be in touch. Chaz
was I out of line there?
Too. You're always on the line, asshole.
Fair enough. That's his market, man. We couldn't do that. You and I couldn't do that because I don't think people don't have a hunger like that to pay to hear what we have to say. Chaz isn't going to
do a GoFundMe account. He's got a business deal. If you look at his videos, there's ways to support it, and there's ways to get behind it. So he's just saying no to your idea. He's got his own ideas.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, we got to bust some ass. Okay, what else is on the thing? Southern Ontario Motor Speedway update. It got done. I got a call Thursday. Remember last week we were telling everybody, just be patient. Let the lawyers do the lawyer stuff. Well, they got it done. So the Marsh family called me on Thursday, said it's all done. They officially own Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, and the racers can get behind it and start putting some solid plans into making that happen.
How soon before Henry buys Humberstone?
Don't put... No, I'm not even starting those rumors. That's all I need. You know I'm gonna get a phone call now tomorrow saying, Henry, like, you just put that little strawberry seed. We're gonna have bushes of berries everywhere tomorrow over it. You know, it's just the way it goes. Craziness. I like you say it because they don't have your phone number. Maryville's practice was tonight. That's also on the rundown. Southern Ontario sprints kick off with the Spring Sizzler at Maryville this Saturday night. Excited to see sprint cars back in action. It's always the good shot for me as a promoter of Oshweekend to get out and see any new blood coming in. And, first look at who might be the hot shoe of 2024. France has 76 cars at Maryville tonight, which was a rain out from Saturday's planned practice. That's a good turnout, Adam, on practice, right? 76 teams coming out.
And I love sprint cars at Maryville Speedway. I don't know why. But I'd much rather watch sprint cars than modifieds there. I just think they put on it's fun to watch. It's slide jobs. It's unintentional slide jobs.
I just thought I was going to have to fire you because I thought you were going to say you'd much rather watch sprint cars at Maryville than Oshweekend. And I'm like, well, that's it. That's your pink slip, buddy.
No, we got a pretty good thing going.
Because you get paid by this media. You don't get to have an opinion there. No, you can say what you want. Ray Fryers is hard to buy Humberstone from China.
Differences in opinion are exciting. Come from a place of some sort of understanding or some sort of intelligence that relates to something. And I'll have a good time listening to it. Even things I don't agree with, and there's a lot I don't agree with. Like anything Alvar says, I don't agree with, but I enjoy seeing it because he comes from a place where he has some understanding. But I do think there's a lot. And that's fine. People don't have to express opinions, but you do need to put some flavor. If you're going to write stories, you gotta be entertaining. Otherwise,
what are you going to do to be entertaining for our pavement fans? Last 2 weeks were mostly dirt. You're the asphalt hookup. Who are you going to bring?
Is that what I am?
I asked for Josh Collins.
Yeah, I think either Josh or Brandon McFarland. Let's get someone from The Rock and bring them on. No. Next week, Brendan Doherty and Spencer Lewis are going to join us. Sunset Speedway.
We'll have some Sunset stuff next week for sure.
Inside scoop, Brian Todish. We love Brian Todish almost as much as we love Sandra Todish. He's been big leaguing us for 2 years. He won't come on. He'll come in and say, I love you guys. Oh, you guys are good. But he won't come on and do interviews. Well, guess what? We got 2 of your mouthpieces coming next week. So I think that'll be a lot of fun to see what they've got to say. They've been doing a good job. Clinton Sunset's, as far as promotional stuff goes, I think they've been doing a pretty solid job. And I think that's going to be it's going to be fun for an audience that we've probably lost a lot of. This hopefully will bring him back at least for a week.
For a week? No, they'll hang around.
Well, you know what I mean? For sure. You talk about, it's not easy to do. We have 50 weeks in a year. We probably do, 48 shows a year? Our racing season is only 20 weeks. So we got 28 weeks where we got to figure out something to talk about that's interesting.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's Brian's birthday today or yesterday I saw on social media. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about Sunset. Always a great place. I mean, if there's one thing that G-Force has brought me, it's been love for the Ontario pavement tracks we get to go to. I mean, I don't think there's one I dread. Everyone we get to go to is just, I love it. You know, some of the rides are a little bit longer for us based on our geography, but man, they show up so well on TV, and I love showing them off. G-Force will not be live every night at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. I think some people read that post wrong. The endeavor there, and I say the endeavor because they're attempting to make it happen. It takes a bit of money, which we can find. Takes a bit of editing work, which Spencer says he can fit in. It is finding a dedicated camera op who can do a one-camera shoot that it's worth Spencer's editing ability and marrying the timing and scoring effort to. They're not easy to come by. So we have told the Marsh family we would love to be hosting a G-Force Light here on, through the week. It probably wouldn't be Sunday, but, what a hell of a follow it would be for a Wednesday night Southern Ontario Motor Speedway live recap, which would be great. I shouldn't even say live because it's a bad word. A G-Force Light.
No, but a scheduled.
Speedway. I would love it. Yeah, I don't get to go there. It's just geography makes it impossible for me to get there more than maybe once a year, and I really have to want there to get there. But I love the place. The rebuild, man. The one night we went there with TV, it was just awesome, And then, think the sprint car guys had some bad luck there, and it just kind of sprint car broke up. But I'll give it to Peter from Sunterra Sprints. He's been waving the flag for that place for a couple years, trying to show these guys how good of a place it really can be. So I think you're going to see a difference maybe with some of the sprint car guys this year. Try and help out the Marsh family. They made adjustments to some of the things that the sprint car guys weren't happy with, that they felt where the wall just had abutments and a couple things like that just scared some of the guys. So they made the adjustments, and excited to see how it all comes together for them. We're starting a sign swap program with Sauble Speedway, so excited about that. Jeff and I are going to trade some signage and promote Sauble down here, and he's going to promote some stuff for us up there. So excited about that. We got some good stuff in the works. I can't believe it. Racing season kicks off this Saturday.
I had lunch with your brother today, Clinton. We do that now and again every few weeks. And he talked about wanting to race a legend car. He wants to go out and have some fun this summer. I said, if you're going to run a legend car, Sauble Speedway is where it's at. Lots of cars. Yeah. Great to be up there on a long weekend. Love the energy up there.
You're an ass. Because
Why?
Those are 2-day shows. I have a trailer there. So now it means Uncle Mike's going to be staying with me on Sauble weekends when I didn't necessarily need Uncle Mike taking a bed out of my trailer on those weekends. But no, I told him the same thing. He did ask me, and he's known Blake Outhouse for a long time, right? He said, Blake, man, you got a spare car, bring it up. Blake said, take a look at the schedule wherever you want to go. And Mike said, well, where are we going to be on G-Force? And I said, I'm pretty sure Sauble races are on G-Force. So, we're excited to see how that works out, and it's always fun to have Mike back at it. That's one thing I'd like to do. We raced Captain Chris Bone Stocks, but I'd love to try a Legends car.
I don't think I'll fit, which is a bummer.
I'd
need 2 Legends cars strapped together.
That'd be awesome. That's too funny. I think that's about it. We're at the end of our show. We got 10 seconds to go.
Nick, I don't think you have to change a lot over. The only thing Dave Bailey ever did, he ran a windshield at Oshwegan, didn't he, Clint?
Yeah, I think that's an open deal. You can run a screen or a window. I don't think they're going to. You might need a window to run Sauble or the pavement tracks, but I don't know. But either way, if that's probably the only thing you got to do.
Plus, if it's still a breakout class, you're going to be fast enough.
Yep. I think, it'd be great. We see some of the other bone stocks come over to the dirt. We've seen them go that way. I know Chris Lawrence is talking about running a few nights on the dirt. Some guys have run the bone stocks back and forth. So I'm sure you can do it.
Faux show.
All right. Thanks, Chaz, for coming out. Thanks, Spencer, for being around. Spencer, are you awake tonight? You didn't say shit, and you didn't respond to my message for the first 20 minutes? Okay.
He was busy getting ready for finish lines. I didn't even set that up. Spencer did that out of his own
He was doing his
volition.
damn work, wasn't he? Bring back the
awesome.
spectator drags. You know, TJ, I used to love the spectator drags when it was really like the king of the hill. But last time we did, we put up $500 to win, and it ended up being a push truck versus a medic truck versus nobody from the street came out. Now, Adam and I, we started in the good old days before sprint cars, and we needed a gimmick every week. And we had bag races. I remember, we're talking 26 years ago now, when the lady crashed her brand new Ford Aerostar minivan in a bag race into the front stretch wall because her husband said, left, left, and she turned right into the wall, and poof. And then they're fighting there, screaming at each other. Anyways.
Backwards races, paper bag races.
Baby races are the next thing we're doing. Bring all the babies. We're going to have baby races. It might take us a little while, but, they don't want much for payout, so we can make it work. And, I was just going to make a bad promoter dad joke. But I'll let it go. You can use your own thing. Yeah, Ditchman at Humberstone. Oh, that is you, Steven, isn't it? Okay, one more story, because he's here. Stephen Ricardo, Stephen Conway. I didn't even notice that. Okay? So here's my Stephen Conway story. I was a mobile reporter, like I still am, at Humberstone. We have Spectator 101 races. Stephen, man, he's a racer. He's balls out in his streetcar. Goes off that little berm on the backside of turn 1 at Humberstone. Kind of gets all squirrely. And before they put the concrete up there, before Terry took over, he used to be able to get right to the ditch. Well, he cleared that ditch, except the nose didn't clear the other side of the ditch, and it stuck. And the airbag went off. And I got up to the scene, and he's all choking and hurting. You all right? He goes, yeah, but someone's got to drive me to Niagara Falls tonight because this ain't going to make it. And that was the end of our night. But totaled this car in a Spectator 101 race. It's too much fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we always have fun here. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Pretty soon we'll have real stuff to talk about, like racing action here in Ontario, kicking off on the dirt this weekend. It'll be going everywhere else. Yes, you could hear it in the tower. An airbag going off sounds like a big, chip bag if you just poop. All right, awesome. Let's go home. It's chicken wing time for this guy. Thanks, everybody, for hanging around. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Spencer, for all you do. Hey, man, we're almost at big-time stuff going on. Our weekend staff meeting Thursday. Are you coming, Adam?
Is that this Thursday?
Did I send you that invitation?
I don't know.
Probably.
What time is it?
You can come. Pizza at 6:30.
This Thursday?
This Thursday.
All right, I got to do the truck show in Toronto, and then I'll head up from there.
It's not mandatory, but there's free pizza. See you guys. We'll be here next week. Spencer, appreciate it. Ciao.